Dean Meyer, faculty, Dan, thank you for the generous invitation and the welcome and the great introduction. To our distinguished guests, including and especially all the mothers in the audience, big applause to you. I am privileged to join you on this momentous occasion. And of course, to the Farmer School class of 2017. Congratulations. As a proud farmer alumnus, I'm thrilled to be back on campus. And I'm honored to celebrate you. Your sacrifice, your achievements, and remarkable people who helped you get here, and the incredible promise of what you are on the verge of doing next. Now, at this moment in my speech, I'm supposed to say, I know that you were probably busy celebrating your fair share of nightlife last night in Uptown. The problem is, when I was at Farmer, I was studying most of the time. I didn't even know there were bars in Uptown, and that's true. But my point is, there are some things you would expect a commencement speaker to say. For instance, if I were the CEO of Ford, you would expect me to talk about cars. And if I were the CEO of Disney, you would expect me to talk about movies. So as the CEO of Harman, it only makes sense that I talk about audio. And essential to the idea of audio is something we take it for granted: headphones. Before 1958, if you listened to music on a pair of headphones, you were listening in mono. The sound you heard was recorded with one microphone. The experience was flat. The sound had no depth, no details. But then something happened. A man named John Koss invented the stereo headphones. For the first time, you could hear distinct tracks recorded from different microphones playing at once. This was nothing short of a revolution. Audio now had a sense of relative space. Music sounded like it was supposed to sound like. Great sound requires 360-degree immersion, different sides, different perspectives, and it requires balance too. The same is true in business and in life. The life becomes richer and fuller when you experience the world in high fidelity sound. Learning becomes deeper and more profound. And when you boil it down, having a stereo mindset is fundamental to leadership. So in my brief time with all of you, before this hi-fi moment fades to a lo-fi memory, I want to share a few stories from my life about how I have tried to learn and lead in stereo. In my experience, I've found humans are creatures of habit. We feel safe in a one-track mono world. That's the comfort zone. But the problem is, if we stay on one track, we can't take the road less traveled. It's only when we leave our comfort zone, then we get the opportunity to gain new perspectives, see from new vantage point, approach our most stubborn obstacles from a new angle, very new perspective. And what's more, in our increasingly globalized world, the ability to listen to and be challenged by different people from different places is the single most important skill for any executive to have. In my case, coming to Oxford to attend the Farmer School was a huge step out of my comfort zone. Only a few weeks before I left India for the United States, my father passed away. Traditionally, that meant I needed to stay at home to take care of the family. And in this sad, confusing, and turbulent time, I think deep down, I wanted the safety and security of the place I grew up. So I wasn't ready for new people, the new country. So I told all my relatives I was putting my plans for an MBA in America on hold. And they said, good, you should stay and take care of family. I said, I should talk to my mom. So I turned to my mom. I said, Mom, I'm not going. I'm staying here to take care of you. And I can still remember exactly how she replied. She said, Dinesh, you cannot bring your father back. He wanted you to go to America to study, do your MBA. I can live without you just fine. It's fitting that today is Mother's Day, a chance to appreciate and celebrate everything our mothers do for us. Because my mother is the reason why I went to pharma school. And she's the reason I'm here speaking to all of you. She was right to push me out of my comfort zone because India is a big country, but the world is bigger. So I left India for Oxford, which led me to a career that has spanned 6 countries around the world so far. And it's these international experiences, more than any particular business challenge, that have helped me become the executive I am today. So I urge you, don't let your comfort, your insecurity, or let your complacency breed in you. When you get to your new jobs, tell your employers that you want to work in a high fidelity environment. Tell them you want stereo sound. And when you look at them and they look at you confused, tell them what you mean is you want to leave your comfort zone. Have the courage. Raise your hand for the difficult, uncomfortable assignment. Own your vision of your career you want. Take the wheel and hit the gas. Better yet, get on a plane. Ask to go abroad. And don't just take an easy assignment. Stay for at least 3 years, is my advice. Be more than a visitor. Dive into the social fabric of the society you're going in. Learn to live and work in new place. And by the way, UK does not count. They speak English and the cultures are far too similar. So challenge yourself. Go to Germany. Go to Japan. Go to China. Learn the culture. Learn the 6,000 years of history. Learn how to think differently and adapt to a whole new decision-making process. That's what I did many years ago when I was working for a company called ABB. One day I got a call from my boss in Switzerland. He asked, would you want to go to China to start our operation? 3 months later, I landed in Beijing. I was probably the 5th Indian living in the city at that time. I didn't speak a word of Mandarin. It was strange. It was unfamiliar. It was very uncomfortable. At the same time, it was a chance to start something from nothing and learn a new way of doing business in the process. So going to China was the best career decision I ever made. It launched me up the learning curve and pushed me forward in every way. Now, before I finish the story, let's pause for just a moment. I started the speech by talking about common commencement themes. Well, this is the part of the speech where I'm supposed to tell you that I ventured into China alone, that I worked my way through Asia, up the corporate ladder, a lone wolf. But that's not what happened. While we lived in a high-fidelity stereo environment, we realized that while our own perspectives are very valuable, so too are those of the people closest to you. We all have people in our lives whose opinions and counsel carry special weight, our partners. And these partners will have a tremendous influence and impact on our careers. Because, in a way, they defy physics. By the way, I taught physics 4 years when I was in Miami. They balance us, yet they propel us forward. They keep us grounded, and they lift us up. For me, that partner has been, for 30 years, my wife, Ila. She supported me as I embarked on this adventure. She raised our two children, who are here in the audience as well. But she also lent me a new perspective on work and the people I work with, even if it took me a while to realize or to sense it. As a courtesy, I would invite Ila to work outings, but when it came to discussing the business, I would discount her opinions. Maybe it was my arrogance. Maybe it was the natural tendency among many executives. We think or start to think, I know better. So in any case, one day Ila confronted me. She asked me, why are you inviting me to all these events, wasting my time, when you don't take care and don't listen to my advice? She had a point. So I did a 180. I started listening in stereo. And thanks to her insights, I was able to see the nuances, hear the words behind the words, and really understand the people I was working with. Today, when I'm interviewing candidates for executive roles, the final step in my process is to invite the candidate and their partners to dinner with Ila and me. No business talk in this meeting, just social. I want to get to know the candidates better. I want to see how candidates handle themselves around their partners, how they treat them. I want to see what they say differently from the official interview, or what they don't say at all. I can see some of you squirming in your chairs right now, but I promise you it works wonders. But of course, the mission to bring more diverse viewpoints and perspectives in your life and work shouldn't end when the dinner is over. As you rise through the ranks, remember to lead in high fidelity. Remember the value of stereo. I joined Harman in 2007. Back then, we had great products and great brands. But the company was struggling. The problem was a lot of broken processes and too many silos, too many structures built to keep new ideas out and old assumptions in. So for instance, we had great brands in Austria, Germany, UK, Switzerland, and the US, but we treated them totally separately. I would go to an office and I would see the individual brand on the sign, JBL, Harman Kardon, AKG, but not Harman. I actually had 17 business cards floating around me, each with different design and a different brand. So if you think of pre-social media, I remember I wanted to write a welcome email to all Harman employees upon my arrival. And our IT person said this seemingly simple task was actually half a day's work because there were so many separate email domains for each of the business units. Imagine. So if you see a crack in the paint on the wall of your house, it's easy to ignore it. It's just a crack. No one will notice. But the crack can be a symptom of something far worse. Structural damage, a fault in the foundation. In case of Harman, the signs and business cards and the emails weren't the problem. The problem was that we didn't see ourselves as one company. So I made it my mission to lead by example. Within weeks of taking the CEO job, I hosted dozens of town halls all around the company. I told my team I did not want any pre-selected questions. I hoped that somebody would trip me up. I wanted people to say, Dinesh, you're wrong. You're full of it. I wanted to change the culture, inspire a new way of operating and communicating, and affirm the qualities that the best companies all share: transparency, teamwork, mutual respect, accountability, integrity. Every good company has those 5 elements shared. And admittedly, I was also new to the business. I had more questions than I had answers. And I wanted to convey that we needed every person's ideas and full engagement to ensure Harman's success. So now more than ever, I maintain a curious mind, I think Dan said it very well. I'm always encouraging questions and challenges to my own assumptions. This approach has always led to better outcomes. Leadership is not the same thing as omnipotence, and I want the best idea every time. I don't care where it comes from. And it's because Harman as a company has embraced new ideas and new perspectives, and we have evolved from a money-losing, less than $3 billion company to a highly innovative, highly profitable $7.5 billion company. It's how we identified mega trends and changed the strategic orientation of the company to focus on cutting-edge technologies in software and hardware that are powering the Internet of Things and connected life. Harman started 70 years ago as a company that made speakers. Today, 70% of the business can be attributed to automotive technologies that are fueling dramatic changes in transportation, including autonomous driving and shared mobility. Harman began as a way to hear others' music. Now we are writing our own symphony. Are we doing it alone? We are not. No one can. We are working with Google, Microsoft, Intel, Baidu in China, and 2 months ago we merged with Samsung. I said before that a good marriage can be one of the defining elements of your career, and corporate mergers are not different. If you can find the right partner, the one that aligns with your values, believes in your vision, and complements your strengths, you will succeed. Leaving my comfort zone, leaning on my partner, and listening to different voices, these experiences comprised my business education. So I tell you this because I want you to leave here today knowing one thing. Your business education is not complete. In fact, it's just getting started. I know how intelligent you all are. You can analyze the case studies and crunch the numbers with best of them. And you should be proud of those skills. They will serve you very well. But you're still missing the diversity of lived experience that would shape you and make you a better leader. In other words, your real learning and your real leading start when you go out into the world, when you go from mono to hi-fi stereo. So to help you along your journey, as you leave the ceremony today, you will each receive a pair of JBL wireless headphones. Right now I feel like Oprah. You get headphones, you get headphones. Now you may be wondering, why am I giving you headphones? Well, first I don't want to be one of those commencement speakers you forget about quickly. I don't have the foggiest recollection of mine, probably because I didn't get headphones. But ultimately, if you remember nothing about this moment, remember this. The best thing you can do in life is to open yourself up to new perspectives, to hear from every angle, to listen from all sides, and to all sorts of people, to live and learn in high fidelity, to lead in stereo. Class of 2017, I wish you the best of luck on your journey ahead. Congratulations.